All right, I'm going to do a full raw recording here. Looks like our regular microphone is working just fine. Let's go ahead and switch the source on this guy. Properties to this guy. Perfect. And double check that the audio output is good. And then we get started. Turn that down just a touch. That's better. Okay.
How many people here know what poolside is and does? Anyone? Yeah. So let's talk about that real quickly.
Captions.
Poolside exists to close the gap between models and human.
Okay, so let's look at our sources here first. This channel is AI Engineer. This was released 7 hours ago relative to real time, which is Saturday, December 27th. Local time is coming up on midnight. It's 11:14. And I have to agree with this guy. This has absolutely nothing to do with AGI by proper definition, but there are some fascinating things that he says that I really wanted to share that really caught my attention. In fact, again, this was only released 7 hours ago with just under 900 views. There's only 4 comments, so it just came out. I'm not gonna lie, I don't know who these people are. I've not looked up Jason Warner or ISOCAN or ESOCAN or however it's pronounced. I've never heard of Poolside. But what we're going to see here is going to give some fascinating insight. I'm going to pause it periodically and share some of my personal thoughts. Let's go. The Code Summit. Sponsor is Google, DeepMind. Platinum sponsor, Anthropic. Big names.
How many people here know what poolside is and does? Anyone? Yeah. So let's talk about that real quickly. Poolside exists to close the gap between models and human intelligence. That's literally it. That's what we're here.
Okay. To close the gap between models and human intelligence. That's what their goal is. So that's not exactly the goal of AGI, but it's pretty closely tied and pretty closely similar.
Here to go do. We're building our own models from scratch to do this. We're based on the idea 2.5 years ago that we thought next token prediction was an amazing technological breakthrough, but it needed to be paired with reinforcement learning really to make that leap. So that's what we've been doing for the past 2.5 years. So we're on our 2nd generation of models now, Malibu Agent, and instead of kind of like...
Let's take note. This is 2nd generation. No one's heard of this. They're on 2nd generation. The name is Malibu Agent. So for anyone looking for researching, that's what we want to look for. Let's continue.
Walking you through some slides and all that. We just thought maybe, I don't know, let's kind of show you what we're doing here. So,
yeah,
ISO, are you there?
I got you, Jason.
So, as I said, you were supposed to see him today, but there's, I don't know, our airline system kind of works sometimes, maybe. So he's stuck in California.
Just pointing it out, the subliminal messaging that, oh, our systems are broken, nothing works. I mean, we know that there's always room for improvement. But they're reinforcing this idea that, oh, our airlines kind of work, sometimes maybe. They're already leaving some subliminal messaging, some manipulation of psychology in this messaging that tells you, oh, something is broken. Just throwing it out there. Let's continue.
California. But we thought we'd just walk you kind of through some demos here today. So what you're looking at here is a very modern programming language that the government uses to run all the world's critical infrastructure.
Ada. Very true. It's not the number one, but it is one of the top ones.
Structure called Ada. Anyone familiar with Ada? Yes.
I'm not
yes.
experienced
Okay, so everyone I saw put their hands up for Ada either has no hair or gray hair like me. So that should tell you what's going on here. So ISO, why don't we figure out what's going on with this code base here?
Well, let's start asking what the code base is about.
That's great. And what you're seeing here is obviously our assistant in Visual Studio Code backed by Poolside Agent, a model we.
Now I'm going to go into this in just a second, but I just want to point out, they're going to use Visual Code or Visual Studio Code. That's what I personally use. I've been thinking about switching to like IntelliJ or something like that. I've been seeing a lot of Java developers, not that I have much experience in Java specifically, but I've been thinking about switching my IDE, testing IntelliJ. I see a lot of people that I follow, like the Primeagen, people like that strongly suggest Vim and some other more very focused IDEs, but let's continue.
We train from scratch using our proprietary techniques. And you can see what's going on here, kind of the stuff you expect from an agent. And obviously the form factors of all of these things are going to change a couple of times over the next couple of years. But, people seem to like VS Code. So we're going to, show you this demo here today. Right. So you can see from this, it kind of went through, told you what this code base is all about. But, these things run in our satellites. And I don't.
All right, let's go back about 30 seconds and hear that again without me talking.
This is all about. But, these things run in our satellites. And I don't know anything about Ada, but I do know a lot about a couple of other programming languages. So ISO, what do we want to do here? Why don't we see what this thing might look like in Rust?
Let's do it.
And actually, as a
Let's
speaker,
ask it to convert this database to Rust.
So he could be telling the truth. He may truly not know anything about Ada.
So obviously you're going to see what's going on here. Again, if you guys have used other tools, you're not going to expect too much of the difference for what's happening here, except that, again, we're backed by our own model. We're not using OpenAI. We're not using Anthropic. This is Poolside. And Poolside is a bottom-to-top stack that is right now, if no one's touched it, and I know no one in this room has touched this unless you work for a 3-letter agency, a defense contractor, or you've
contemplate what was just said again. These are the systems running on our satellites, and no one's heard of these or been playing with them or touched them unless you work for 3-letter agencies or defense contractors, DARPA.
Sent missiles somewhere that we're not going to talk about in this session, because that's where we're working. We're working in high consequence code.
And I also just want to emphasize, now, DARPA's gone and changed up their website in the last 10 to 15 years, but it used to have a very public archive of government contracts. Everything that's happening right now is backed by essentially government contracts, to extremely simplify it. It's largely tied. And this is not conspiracy theory. This is public record. They've just, and by they, I mean the people who are, what would it be? The webmasters and developers that are moderating and managing the government, I guess just government websites, to keep it really simple. They've made it a little bit more difficult to locate what the terms are of these contracts, but they are public record. They are, and have been for a very long time, publicly accessible, and no conspiracy. A lot of what's going on today I could have told you and I have told many people in my private circle, was going to happen in the next 5-10 years, and here we are. So now we're just watching the continuation of it. It's all very predictable, in pattern at least. Perhaps not specifics, but in pattern. What DARPA contracts, which is, anyway, let's continue listening. We're working in high consequence code, right? So we're dealing with what he's talking about now. We're dealing with code that needs to be 100% reliable, or at least like as close to 100% reliable as possible, which on a fundamental programming level simply means, or at least in practice, typically means we know exactly the number of bits and the type of data that is being transmitted between systems. We have very specific ways of handling that data. There's all sorts of specifications. I don't have 100% of the terminology down. I've just been kind of watching a number of things. I've got my own specialty, which is more consumer side, but this stuff needs to be known to the public.
Environments for the last year inside the government and the defense sector, as you can see from this demo. So what you see here is kind of going through, doing the conversions. What you see in the middle pane is something that we built to kind of show you as the streams come through all the different changes that are happening. One of the tricky parts about working on inside the defense sector and things like that is you can't have an agent that's just going to run around and do stuff. I mean, like, I can't walk into half of these buildings. You can't give an agent access to these data sources and just say, hey, go nuts. You need to have the right permissions. You got to actually really ratchet these things down to do things inside those environments that, you know,
which we should
they
all be doing
feel comfortable with
in the first place.
So where are we on this now? Is it trying to fix itself yet?
Yeah, so it wrote about 1,152 lines of code. And it just popped up a command starting to test it. Excuse me. So we see here all of the files on the left-hand side that it created.
Here's their.
This is essentially our live diff view that's available.
There's your citations.
And as we see, it's currently starting to actually test it out.
For the video credit, that is.
So this is the part where we just sit here and watch this for 3 minutes and I say nothing. No, what you see.
The good thing is that this is a very fast inference.
Yes.
So 1,100 lines of code.
Did it?
Tasks completed.
Do we know if this works yet?
I'm just going to throw this in here. I don't know why people are still talking about numbers of lines of code. I'm just going to leave that open-ended.
Well, let's have a look. So it actually wrote some shell commands to test it. And when we check out the output of those, this actually looks pretty good.
Can we verify that?
To run it. Let's go verify it. So of course our agent came back and gave a summary of what it did, but let's just ask how to run this. Okay. So I'm going to go open up. So it says, this is how
I'm going to pause for just 1 second and point out the delay in the development is not anything that these people are concerned about. The quality is what they're concerned about when we're talking about contractors and the developments of these tools. That's why they don't care when they steal massive amounts of data from the web and completely violating copyright infringements of all sorts and intellectual property rights and all that kind of stuff. And these companies that do all this garbage, that steal this stuff, they don't care because this is DARPA contracting. This has been planned for a while. And the overall profit they gain outweighs the social and political pressure counteracting.
I can run the Ada version, and this is how I can run the Rust version. Let's run the Rust version. Perfect.
I'm not
Let's have a
familiar
look
with
here.
Rust whatsoever, other than
Ooh,
having.
we might be hitting an actual.
I've just heard
An
that
actual
it's very
demo bug?
fast and
Let's have a look.
level.
Let's see what happens.
No, just warnings.
Just warnings.
Gladly.
Do we have an unwrap in
So-
there that we need to take care of? I heard that those things are dangerous.
So right now there's a REPL. And
This is
let's
where
hit
I left
help.
off before starting.
See what we're able to do. So it looks like we have a set of commands.
Together from here.
I'm going to be lazy. I'm going to copy paste these queries. So create table users. Okay, so far so good. Let's insert a record. Okay, well, let's find out if it actually did its job. Select start from users. Okay, we've got a record here.
That's nice.
Now, I want to actually, you see, if I use the up arrow, it doesn't actually allow me to cycle through commands. Let's ask it to add a feature.
He's just going through the normal cycle. Let's speed.
Allows me to use the up arrow to cycle through. I think you'll understand my intent here.
One thing we know about ISO is he actually does know how to read and write, but he can't type. So all those errors that you're seeing in there, yeah.
So it looks like the agent's identified a package that we can use. Let's just quickly look here, compare this to version 1. And it looks like it's adding a library called Rustyline and changing the files accordingly. It's currently built it. And it looks like the build output is successful. There's some warnings, but I'll clean those out later on. And it's now started to test it.
Okay. I guess we'll see.
And apparently it
what
works.
happens.
It's going to write itself a little bash script to test the history. It's written itself a little final demo script. So let's let it. Okay, so and it gave us the summary. Well, now, how do I rerun this? I do kind of know that. So let's just.
You should know that. That was 30 seconds ago.
Let's build it and let's run it again. Okay, let's do a help. And oh yeah, that's the up arrow. It works.
Very nice.
Now, our models are just capable coding agents. They're capable in lots of areas of knowledge work. They're also emotionally intelligent. They're fun. They're great to write. Bedtime stories for the kids. So I'm going to ask it to write me a poem about all these changes. But that's just more for fun.
So as Iso was saying, this is just an interface into our platform. There's other interfaces into it if you're inside one of those organizations that has adopted Poolside. So this is the coding interface into it, but we also have other ways in which you can interact with it, web as well as an agent that you can download on your machine. But yeah, we don't really tout the poem writing or the songwriting, though I did send this to my wife to see, and I have been sending her love letters written by Poolside. So I kind of hope that she did not enter this session to know exactly how I've been doing that for the past 6 months.
Nonsense.
But yeah, so this is kind of Poolside. This is what we've been up to.
Just doing
So as I said,
presentation
Malibu
stuff. It's
Agent
pretty
is our
expected.
second generation. We've got a ton more
company
compute
does it.
coming online, and that's when we're training our next generation. That is going to be the one that comes out publicly to everybody very early next year. We're going to have it behind our own API. It'll be on Amazon behind the Bedrock API. Anybody in the world who's building out any sort of, on one side, the engineering assistants like the Cursors, Windsurfs, Cognitions, Replets of the world, you can use ours, or if you use building out on any other side of the fence, the Harveys, the writers, the whatever applications of the world, there's going to be a fifth model out there that's going to be at that level that you can consume. But we're dead set on doing this and bringing this.
Let me hear that one more time, what his summary was.
Side, the engineering assistants.
Go back just a touch more. All right. It'll be on Amazon behind the Bedrock API. Now, I've not dealt with Amazon because I don't deal with giant corpses any more than I have to. Just because, you know, when there's vulnerability, for example, when there's vulnerability on one of these main platforms, it hits so many people and all the bots from other adversaries. It becomes a vulnerability to everyone on the platform, so I try to avoid using these, but that's interesting. This, which they're tying and talking about being closely used and developed based on, what was the terminology he used? So this was I can't recall if he said it was trained on Ada or if he said I have to audio cut this for a second. I'm not sure. Let's just listen. I'm not going to audio cut this. Let's just listen again. All right, it'll be on Amazon behind the Bedrock API, whatever Bedrock API is. I'm not sure.
The world who's building out any sort of, on one side, the engineering assistance, like
anyone who's building engineering assistants, so that'd be LLMs and like MCP servers that are translating between
Cursors, Windsurfs, Cognitions, Replets of the world. You can use ours, or if you use building out on any other side of the fence, the Harveys, the Writers,
other side of the fence, Harvey's, Writers. I'm not familiar with
the whatever
those.
applications of the world. There's going to be a fifth model out there that's going to be at that.
There's going to be a fifth model. That's very likely a key term. I don't know what it translates to or means or refers to, but very interesting that he says a fifth model. I guess we'll find out in the future.
That level that you can consume. But we're dead set on doing.
He did specify that you can consume, so it'll be likely to be in the consumer market.
Doing this and bringing this out to everybody in the world and kind of advancing that state.
There you go. Re-emphasizing to everybody in the world. So consumer market for sure. Fifth model, something regarding the Defense Department, government contracting, released.
State of the art. And we're just going to keep pushing that out. So that's kind of who we are.
And they're just going to keep pushing it out.
And you can find out very little more at our website since we don't put much out there.
You can find it on their website since we don't put much out there, they say. No, they don't. They don't put much out there.
But ISO, anything else you want to say before you?
I'm very curious to listen to what do you say, or how do you pronounce it? He pronounces it ISO, EISO, or something like that. Before we listen to what ISO has to say, I just really want to contemplate the undertone of the words that were used and the vocabulary used. It seems rather intentional, even if it wasn't meant to be intentional language. Like, it feels like he knows stuff about what's going on in the back end, which, I mean, he's an AI engineer of some kind, or he's a public speaker who's heard enough that he knows some ideas of what's going on. Let's hear what ISO has to say. Anything else that ISO wants to say?
You try to go make your flight this time, please?
So I would say that it's been a pretty incredible journey for the last 2.5 years of starting entirely from scratch and now building to a place where we see our models have grown up to become increasingly more intelligent. And the kind of missing ingredient that we had was compute. And now that's unlocked for us, and with a large number of over 40,000 GB300s coming online, we see how we.
I'm just going to throw that out there. Missing model. This is why NVIDIA became so big, was their entire processing units inside their graphics cards were just optimized for this stuff. I'm not going to speak technically because there's a whole variety of array of arguments for and against that, but I'm just saying I think that's why NVIDIA went up so popular, is they served the need of DARPA contractors as a subcontractor.
And start scaling up some of those models to get even further in their level of capabilities in software development and other types of long horizon knowledge work. What I think is exciting about this conference and this audience is of all the work that's happening of evolving the form factor. Right now, what we looked at was this asynchronous way of operating with agents. But Jason, you and I, we have agents running that are doing tasks for hours, and I think in the near future we can see a world where they're able to start doing tasks in days in the coming years. And so I think the interface will continue to change. We're really focused on the fundamentals, building intelligence and being able to scale up and serve it. And it's why we go full vertical. It's why we go from our multi-gigawatt campus in West Texas, where we're building out data centers, to our team building out models. And the interface that you saw today is just our version of an expression. But I think this audience is going to do an incredible job of building lots of better versions of how to express using that intelligence into actually valuable, economically valuable work.
Yeah, that's just.
Couldn't have said it better. Can't wait to see what you guys build on this. in the future when it's publicly
sales
available.
response.
And if anyone really does want to
And
build a data center
reinforcement.
campus, we are hiring for that. It is weird to be
Ooh,
putting
and some
shovels in
recruitment.
ground again, like we did in the 90s and early 2000s, but that's what you got to do to scale intelligence these days.
That's an appeasement to prior generations, putting shovels in the ground like we did in the 90s and 2000s. It's a complete bunch of BS, but in my opinion, but just saying, that sounds very salesy to me, because I mean, I think we all know shovels to dirt sounds like a bunch of BS.
So,
I would make one other non-scheduled statement.
Oh,
and I
no.
hope you're going to be okay with this one, Jason.
What's he got to say?
As our models are,
Is this going to be a scripted statement? He claims he's going to say something controversial. Does it sound scripted to kind of appease to the people with doubts like myself? Or does it actually, and then also, am I going to have confirmation bias by listening to this? I guess we'll find out. Let's listen. I've not heard this yet. Let's find out.
are getting more capable, we'd love to also see who wants to build with them. Right now, the vast majority of companies that are doing additional reinforcement learning and fine-tuning on top of models are doing it on what I would consider right now the best-in-class open source models, the Qwens and Gimmies and Minimaxes of the world. And we'd like to start figuring out how we can partner with you with our models, anywhere from any checkpoint early on to where we are today, for you to be building closer together with us on top of things. We haven't really figured out the approach to it yet, but I think since we have this audience, it's not a bad place to put it out there. And so definitely reach out to us. We think the world till date was built by intelligence. The world in the future is being built on top of intelligence. And so be a great way to partner.
well, thanks, ISO. Thanks, everybody here. And now we do have 5 minutes left. I don't know if we're supposed to take questions, but I'm happy to. So if anyone does, but if not, I'm just going to go that way. What was that?
Wish I could talk to him. I do want to, first get rid of this closed caption because that's kind of blocking it. Let's get a point of reference. So Jason, this guy who's talking over here, our main speaker, is a co-CEO, which I guess makes sense. I've never personally heard of a co-CEO. I have always thought of CEO as a singular, but apparently that's a thing now. That must be Silicon Valley or maybe just business stuff that I'm unfamiliar with. Both of them have the same titles. They're both co-CEOs and co-founders. Co-founder makes sense. So they both are closely tied to this Poolside project, which is presented by Google DeepMind and platinum sponsored by Anthropic. So make of that whatever you will. Let's continue to either the end or any other key points.
Sort of. I mean, I think of him that way. Here's a fun story. Here's how I met ISO. I like to tell this story because ISO's a fun dude.
Oh, here we go.
I met ISO because it started with a failed acquisition at GitHub. So back when I joined GitHub in 2017 as a CTO, I wanted to take GitHub from a kind of collaborative code host with open source bent and turn it into an end-to-end software development platform infused by intelligence. And so the products that we launched from 17 on, GitHub Actions, packages, alerts, notifications, eventually code spaces, and then Copilot was the last thing that the office of the CTO did before I left with Nat Friedman, Uga Damore, and a couple of other folks inside there. But ISO, in 2017, when I joined, he had working code completion before the Transformer architecture had landed fully. He had it on LSTMs. And so I quickly tried to acquire his company, and he just said no. He just said no to me. But that was a long drawn out process talking about what we thought neural networks were going to mean for the world. And so during that process, which was a lengthy one, we became really good friends, and we'd stayed in close contact over the years. And then 22 rolled around, obviously ChatGPT comes out, Anthropic's out, and we kind of saw the end game at play. And we said, do we jump back in or not? And of course, yes, we jumped back in. But I like to tell that story about how he just kept saying no to me, and I just kept asking him questions, and eventually he said, yes, we should found a company. Because, by the way, when I asked him if we should do this, he said, oh, goddamn no.
Amway.
That was were his exact words. He's like, no, we should just learn how to pay and sale. But here we are.
The way he's presenting, I mean.
It's been a gradual journey to get it, Jason. I think the reason we ended up doing this is because of our opinionated view on what it was going to take to build more capable intelligence. And the first 18 months of this company, you know, obsessing and focusing on reinforcement learning combined with LLMs felt like one of the most contrarian opinions in the world. But I think today it's absolutely not. And it's super exciting to see the progress that's continuing to make. Like we're in the coming years, we're going to see the world that started in completions and went to chat and is now at agentic increasingly approach more autonomous. And all of it is stemming effectively from a combination of bringing highly capable models that are constantly evolving together with real world problems. And I think what we're starting to see now is we're entering these kind of awkward teenage years ahead of AGI, where everybody in this room who's building out incredible companies and applications is bridging this gap of what it really takes to make intelligence that in its raw form actually be valuable. And we want to be a small, humble part of that. We've got a lot of work still ahead of us. The team is growing. But hopefully what you've seen today is what our customers and enterprises have been having access to and seeing for a while, is that we're hard at work at really pushing those capabilities. We also want to make sure we make them available to build together with others.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's it. Thanks, everybody.
And there's a final citation for you all as to what we're watching. And that is that. So, I'm going to share this. Obviously, I don't have any video. I don't think it's necessary. I think the audio commentary is more valuable in this particular case. I'm curious what anyone else thinks. I don't think that AI, as it currently stands, is going to lead us into AGI or ASI, which is artificial general intelligence, mirroring that of biological organisms, or artificial superintelligence, mirroring that of beyond the capacity of biological. I don't think we're going to see that with the models that we're currently using, or patterns, mathematically speaking. I think there's some parameters and variables that are largely being completely ignored. But with the AI that we're using, it's grown massively since Alexa, and I guess that's the only one that comes to mind immediately, but similar. Let's see, what does iPhone have? Siri. I don't use iPhone or Apple products personally. So we got Siri, we got Google's Gemini, we've got Anthropic's Claude. I mean, there's just so many. I don't think any of them are going to reach AGI or ASI level anytime soon, like they're claiming. AGI, the path forward, in the name of the title. But we're going to get something that probably feels and appears very similarly. So, I've shared my thoughts. Tell me what you think. And thanks for hanging out. And that's the end of my uncut raw recording. Sorry it was twice the length of the original video. I just really don't want it removed for stealing their video. I don't know how the YouTube algorithm works. All right, bye.